Okay, wow. So good to meet you all. I think that's everyone, right? And so the reason I was asking about the Bhagavad-Gita is because today I want to do like a whole multiple part session. Today is the second session, so if you already missed the first session, don't worry. Um, you can all hear them individually or collectively. And basically just going through the progression of the Gita. So the question is, how is the Gita relevant today to us? Because if we know a little bit about the Gita, it was something spoken around 5,000 years ago. And of course, many take it to be relevant, so we'll explore that. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is a conversation within a conversation. And so this outermost dialogue is happening between this king and one of his ministers, one of his counselors. And he's wondering, it's actually the first thing that happens in the Gita. He's wondering what's happening on this battlefield where he has his whole son's army versus his other relatives. It's basically like these cousins are almost fighting against each other. And then you go onto the battlefield, and within that conversation, there's a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So Arjuna is the warrior. He's one of the nephews of the king, and he's the greatest general on that battlefield, about to fight. And he has Krishna, who is Krishna's charioteer, but also is going to become Arjuna's charioteer, but he's going to become Arjuna's guru. And so Arjuna is asking Krishna so many deep and beautiful things, and Krishna is giving many wonderful teachings to Arjuna there. And then there's the deepest layer, which is the ultimate conversation taking place between God and the soul, or taking place between God and us. So Bhagavad-Gita, those words, Gita means song. So Bhagavad-Gita translates as the song of God. So it's like God is revealing this for our benefit. And has everyone heard the word yoga? I mean, obviously, right? So we all tend to think yoga means we're doing all these poses, sun salutation, and all these different things. And yes, that's a part of yoga, but really what the word yoga means is yukta, or connection. Like the word yoke, like if you're yoking I mean, we don't really do that anymore, yoke a trailer, hitch or something like that. It means to connect. The yolk of an egg is like connecting all the stuff together. So yoga actually means connection with the divine. And each chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's 18 chapters. So each chapter of the Bhagavad Gita can be considered like a different kind of yoga. And so in my first class, we were talking about the first chapter, which is called Vishad Yoga. And that was basically Arjuna. On one side you have Dhritarashtra, and he is wondering, will I be successful? Will my army beat their army? And for him that was success. Then you have the great general Arjuna, where he's struggling in the first chapter. He's actually not struggling with whether he'll be successful. He knows he's such a good general and such a good fighter that he knows he can probably win. But he's wondering, will that actually make me happy if I actually win? What is actual happiness? And so in the first chapter, Krishna is trying to confirm with Arjuna that material benefits, material happiness, what everyone's striving for, that's not really actual success. He helps Arjuna redefine success. And throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, there's this kind of re-identification of success, redefinition of success. And so now we're headed to the second chapter, where Krishna is trying to show Arjuna what success is. And the first point he makes, to understand what success is, like we said today, the name of this is, what is it called? Redefining identity?
Yeah.
Sorry. Rediscovering identity. Sorry, I told him a week ago and I forgot what I said. So Krishna is going to redefine what identity is to Arjuna. Because if you don't know what your identity is, how can you possibly know what the success is? There's no, like, if you have a GPS, but you don't know where you are, and you don't know where you're going, how can you tell if you got there? You can start going anywhere, you can go, like they say, going nowhere fast, but that's not anything. So this second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, which means, Sankhya is a word that means analysis. So there's many things that we analyze, like we're in New York, they have the stock market, so much analysis and speculation on that. We have all the different, now it's coming up, all these different sports analysis and sports betting, and people analyzing the news. You've got the meteorologist analyzing the weather, people are analyzing each other, but then the ultimate analysis Krishna's showing us in this chapter is the analysis of what is spirit, what is spiritual, and what is material, what is matter. So he shows the huge dichotomy between material and spiritual. Whereas in the conflict, the central conflict of the Gita, the king, he just wants to win the material assets. He doesn't mind even killing his own family, and he just gets the material thing. Not really seeing too much spiritually. So in this second chapter, Krishna is really analyzing what's the difference between spirit and matter. And like I was saying, the first thing to be clear, spirit versus matter, it really depends on our identity. Because if we're just a material identity, like I remember my dad once told me, "Oh, we only live this one time, so you really got to get what's yours and get it while you can." And it really changes the philosophy of your life. Whereas we know we're spiritual beings, we exist beyond this frame. It completely changes the thing. And so a lot of solutions can come from your identity. A lot of conflicts can come from your identity. Like we were in New York. We just had the World Cup and the NBA finals all in the same time in the same area, and it was wild. We had like tens of thousands of Brazilians come and like take over for a while, and when the Knicks won, every time they won, it would, especially in the home games, it would be a complete riot in the streets. Like if they were overturning buses and flipping cars and setting things on fire. Imagine if they would have lost. Like it's all kind of identity, this is our identity, our city, our people. And I guess the Brazilians, the Brazilians are, these are, we play soccer, we play, they call it football, whatever. And so, if they would have lost, who knows how much more of trouble we would have been in. So the first thing that Krishna teaches in the Gita, and the last thing actually kind of touches on the basic human condition of everyone in the world. The first thing he says is ashochayan, which means don't lament. And the last thing he says is ma suchaha, don't lament, don't worry. Like I was driving one day and I saw a bumper sticker, do not disturb, already disturbed. And so this is like, everyone has so much anxiety, so much fear, so much lamentation. I'm sure if I asked and went through, most of us, maybe not today, but recently, or someone we know has been in some sort of fear, anxiety, maybe even right now. And we've all definitely had those days where it's like, everything is sunny, but then above us is just that dark cloud. And this was Arjuna's situation in the first chapter. He was lamenting, he was crying, he was going to give up. And the whole first chapter is him just explaining all these reasons why he has to give up to Krishna. And so Krishna's in the start of the second chapter, he's saying, okay, don't worry. Here's a different perspective. And the instruction he gives is, I'll say it in Sanskrit. Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir diras tatra namuhyati. So he's telling Arjuna that actually you're not this body, you're a soul. And just like, if you remember, everyone remember when they were younger, like someone said, like, oh, I have a picture of you when you're younger, but technically all pictures are pictures of us when we were younger. So like when we were young, we had a completely different body, and the scientists say every 7 years your body completely changes. All the cells are recycled out. And so we still feel like the same person. Still our identity, we still have the same family, the same name, the same ID card. We might have to change our ID card as we get older. But our body is completely changing. And so Krishna says, just like your body is completely changing from when you're young to when you go old and then finally pass away, at the time of death, when you pass away, similarly your body goes, your soul goes into a different body. And then he says, all right, I said don't worry, and just listen, Arjuna. Look, there was never a time when you didn't exist, that I didn't exist, nor anyone didn't exist, and nor in the future will we cease to be. So we were always existing before, we're all going to exist in the future. So, this brings to the point, there was once a king who he said, okay, I want a magic ring, and I want this ring to be so powerful that when you look at it and you're happy, you feel sad. And you look at it when you're sad, you feel happy. And so the royal jewelers went all around and they searched the whole kingdom trying to find this magical jewel that would make someone happy if they were sad when they saw it, or sad when they're happy. And they couldn't find it. And finally they have to go to the wise man in the kingdom, the king's best counselor. And they ask him, we can't find this gem. He's like, okay, here, take this. And he gave him a rusty ring. And they're like, well, how is this going to do it? And then he's like, just read what it says on the ring. And what it says, all things must pass. So this is like a statement. If you're in an intense situation, all things must pass. Eventually it's going to go. If you're in a very happy situation, overly elated, all things must pass. So then you may become sad. And this is the point that Krishna is trying to make. We're beyond matter. We're beyond the material realm. We're beyond just what the one history of this body. We have a history before and we have a history after. They call it Sat Chit Ananda. Like if you've ever heard a fairy tale, what do they say at the end?
They lived ever happily ever after.
What did they say? They live happily ever after, right? So this may seem like some kid's statement, but it's actually like profound. Happily ever after. So happily, Ananda, they lived, Chit, and then ever after, eternally, Sat. Sat, Chit, Ananda is like the Sanskrit words that they describe, like what is our existence? Sat, Chit, Ananda. Like of course we have these bodies and it goes through so much karma and activities and suffering and happiness in different ways. But ultimately the soul behind it is eternal, it's eternally conscious, it's eternally conscious and blissful. And so, does anyone in this world live happily ever after? No, not really. This material world has a beginning and it has an end. And since we're spiritual beings, we're like a fish out of water existing here. Like if you have a fish, and no matter how much drugs I give the fish, no matter how much porn I give the fish, or how much good tasting food, or how much money I can give it, or go down to the diamond district and get a bunch of gold bars and jewelry and all this stuff. It's just the fish is going to be throw me back in the water. That's all they really care about. And so no matter how much that we do that, we ultimately have to go back to our spiritual nature. Of course we can exist here, but it's not going to be we can try as much as we want, but ultimately what's really going to satisfy us, just like what's really going to satisfy the fish is going back to the water, is us going back to our spiritual nature. And so we're consciousness, not the body that's housing the consciousness. And so part of our spiritual practice as monks, or if anyone wants to start a spiritual practice, is when we wake up in the morning, we have to remind ourselves we're not a part of this world. This is just a physical machine. If we're going outside and seeing all the cars, oh, that's you're the car. No, we all understand that we're not the car, that we're the driver inside the car. So similarly, although we identify with our body so much, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Everyone's so focused on this, But actually it's just one brief stop for our soul, is this material existence. Kay was telling how she wanted to study the Bhagavad-Gita in Russian, right? Because she wanted to learn about karma and reincarnation. So in this second chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna talks a lot about what is reincarnation and what is the soul. And there's a certain psychologist named Dr. Ian Stevenson. There's actually many psychologists have studied the phenomenon of children supposedly remembering their past lives. So we have hundreds and thousands of incidents of kids that will report these things that will be seemingly unknowable to them. Like sometimes they speak a different language, sometimes they know information that there's no way they could know. And it all seemingly point to they were someone that existed in the past. And so then the parents, with the help of the psychologists and the doctors and the scientists, they'll try to study and find evidence of who they were. And so there was this boy, his name was James. And when he was like 2 years old, he started to get these terrible nightmares. And then when he was started to be old enough to talk, he was telling, oh, we got shot down, the plane's going down, the little man it can't get out. And they started asking him, like, what's going on? And he's like, I got shot down by the Japanese. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you know that the Japanese? Oh, because it's the big red sun. And they're saying, how does this kid know? He's like 3 years old. How does he know about the Japanese and the big red sun? And he's like, yeah, we're telling all these details, how they're in, the name of the boat that he was flying off of, the kind of plane that he was flying, his name and his comrades' names of all the other soldiers. And they didn't know what to think of it. The father was very skeptical, and he eventually started to research about it and ended up realizing that all these names that the kids were saying, the name of the boat, the type of vehicle that he flew, even the name of the person who he was, he realized, there was a battle in Iwo Jima, and one person crashed, one American pilot crashed, and his name was also actually James. And they found this kid, he remembered who his past family was. He went and found his sister, and he asked the sister, can you get that painting that our mother drew of us? And the sister there was no way that the kid would have just randomly known. His mother was a painter, and there was one that she had hidden for like 50 years. It was like a painting, and he got it. And so it's called Jati Smaran. Not many people remember their past lives, because a lot of the times if we remembered everything that we did, it would be overwhelming. But there's a certain amount of people that we can see in history that actually do. And so there's a lot of, even if we're skeptical, there's a lot of pretty good evidence to showcase that. And so, how is it possible that this kid is knowing it? Because actually this body that we're in is just like one chapter of our life. This is one identity that we've assumed, but we're actually also something much broader simultaneously. Arjuna is on the battlefield. He has all these problems, and we also have so many different problems. So sometimes it's very good to get this fresh perspective, this different perspective, and zoom out. Like all things must pass. The one thing that Krishna tells Arjuna, he's telling him about the soul. So he's saying, that what pervades the entire body, the soul, you should know to be indestructible. The soul doesn't come into being. It's always existed, and it always will exist. And you can't cut it. You think if someone's going to stab you with a sword, then that's not going to hurt your soul. It can't be burned by fire. It can't be drowned. It can't be moistened by water. It can't be blown away by a tornado. The soul is completely beyond all these. And so, yes, we definitely have this physical machine. We have all the duties related to it, and we should do our duties nicely. But, like Arjuna, he was a general, and as a general, the war was there, and he had to do his duty as a fighter. So we have to fulfill we all have a soul's purpose for taking birth. So we have to fulfill that purpose, our material nature. But then we also have our higher nature that we need to fulfill. Our stomach's hungry, so we have to feed it. Our car needs gas, so we have to put gas into it. But similarly, our soul needs food. Our soul needs activity. Our soul needs nourishment. And so the Upanishads give us a helpful analysis of like how to think of the soul. It's like the chariot example. So you have this chariot, and you have the 5 different horses are like your senses, going out into the world and smelling and hearing and seeing and tasting and touching and so on. And then you've got the reins on the horses, which is like the mind, compared to the mind. And you have the driver holding the reins, which is like the intelligence, kind of figuring out what to do. That's how the Bhagavad-Gita says, we have a mind and we have an intelligence. The mind is kind of like what do we want? Do we want it or not? And then intelligence is like, all right, if we want it, let's figure out how to get it. If we don't want it, let's figure out how to avoid it. And then you have the soul as the passenger. And so what should happen is that the soul is telling the intelligence what to do, how to control the mind, and which then guides the senses through this life. But what happens in most people's life, right, is that the senses see something and pull the mind towards that, and then the intelligence and the soul are just completely just pulled by that. The eyes see a beautiful person, oh, let us go, or they hear like something nice, oh, let us go do that, or there's a nice restaurant with palatable dishes, let's go eat that. And this way the senses are just dragging from one place to another, and it can put the soul into perplexity. And so actually enjoyment is our birthright, because we're the soul. The soul is Satchidananda. It's naturally full of enjoyment. It's connected to the supreme enjoyment. That's what Krishna means. And Rama means the supreme spiritual pleasure connected with that. So that's like our nature. But actually these bodies prevent us from fully enjoying to the level that our soul can enjoy on. Like, how many people like ice cream? But how many people can eat 2 gallons of ice cream in one sitting? I mean, like, I like eating ice cream, but I don't like, getting the sugar rush and feeling like the diabetic coma afterwards. So it's like our bodies kind of get in the way of our actual enjoyment. So we not only need to just on one level understand that we're not our bodies, but we need to get on the spiritual platform of actually being in that experience. And that's the science of yoga. That's the science of Krishna consciousness. That's the science that Krishna is teaching in the Bhagavad-Gita. And of course, our main way is through mantra yoga. And here in the Hare Krishna temple, we have the practice of chanting the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and that vibration is a spiritual vibration. It's like what happens when you're asleep. What do? You want to wake up. If you have an 8 a.m. interview, how do you make sure you make it to that interview on time and don't sleep through it? You set an alarm. Exactly. So sound will wake us up. So similarly, it said these names, these mantras are already on the spiritual platform, and so we connect to them. It's like a transcendental radio, a transcendental alarm that can connect us also and get us out of our, it's when your ears first hear a sound, then you can finally wake up and all the senses become active. So similarly, spiritually, when we hear the sound vibration, when we hear a spiritual sound vibration, it helps us bring ourselves back to the spiritual level, which, like Krishna is saying, the soul is unbreakable, it can't be divided, it can't be burned, it can't be dried. It's eternal. Like we were on the subway one time. We go out, and maybe sometimes some of you have met us in the different subways. We do kirtan and try to talk to people about Bhagavad-Gita. And my friend was telling someone, he's like, yeah, your body's just a temporary part of you, but you're the soul. And that means you can't die. He's like, I'm never gonna die. And then he started like dancing. I'm never gonna die. I'm never gonna die. And I know so that's basically the analysis that Krishna. There's a few more things in chapter 2, but that's the main crux of the issue is the analysis of what is spirit and what is matter. And Krishna gives a very good. Where is it? Yeah, he gives a very good example. This first analysis. So those who are seers of the truth have concluded that if something has no change, then it's eternal. And if it's always changing, then actually it doesn't even really exist. So they say the one constant of this material world is change. Everything is always changing. I mean, even like I said, like, when you take a picture of someone, then that's a picture of you when you were younger. Even now, meeting you guys, I knew you when you were younger. Robert. You've aged nicely. So the world is always changing in the material level. But the sages have studied and they've seen how the spiritual, has not eroded, has not changed. And so that's why the soul can't be changed. It can't be cleaved into two, or it can't be moistened, or it can't be dried. And that's actually the nature of our enjoyment, of our experience. We just have to get spiritual knowledge. We have to get spiritual practice. We have to spiritualize our day. And with Krishna consciousness, we try to help with spiritualizing everything. Like by hearing spiritual words, spiritual wisdom, we can help spiritualize our intelligence. By listening to spiritual music and doing spiritual kirtan, we can help re-spiritualize our experience. We have spiritualized food. Even your consciousness can be awakened and transmitted even through food. And so we try to be in a meditative mood when we cook our food, and thus bring it to a higher spiritual platform. We try not to make it anything that's like degrading or full of violence. And so like that, we are so happy to see you all here on this Sunday. And if anyone has any like comments or criticisms or questions, we have a little time for some reflection right now, and then we can do a little kirtan, we can chant more, and then we can have some nice dinner. Yes, Jay. Joy, sorry.
Joy. I think it's pretty cool how it's you can think about it literally as well, because you mentioned about sound. Sound has vibrations, and you can alter that. And I'm pretty sure the Vedic chants that they made that many years ago. Oh, sorry. I'm pretty sure is the thing on?
It's just for he's recording a live
see.
stream of it.
But I'm pretty sure the Veda mantras that they chanted, if you put them on water, they will arrange in a geometric pattern or shape, and I think that's pretty cool.
Cytomatics or something like that, the science of how sound can change matter. Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, I don't know. It's everything's really interconnected. Is what I'm realizing. But yeah. That's
I mean,
cool.
everyone tries to listen to music to get themselves into a certain mood. When you go to the gym, you play a certain kind of vibration, and it gets you going. When you're feeling bad, you play another certain kind of vibration. When you're feeling good, you hear another certain vibration. So everyone's vibing on different kind of vibes, right? Vibration, vibes. And there's definitely a subtle science to knowing how that all affects us. But then we should also realize then there's also spiritual vibes. So that we don't necessarily need to give up all the other material vibes. Like Krishna tells Arjuna, mean, you have to breathe, you have to eat, you have to do all these things. We have the body, but we should not forget that ultimately we are not our bodies. We are a spirit being beyond that, and so we should also nourish that with spiritual vibes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, hey,
Grab the mic.
Oh, yes, yes, hi, good evening. I'm Kendall. It's been a while since I've been here.
Good to see you, Kendall.
But one, I guess, meme that back when I used to be on social media way more often. One meme that I guess I was reminded of just now was like a lot of people like, I guess, perceive reality as, you know, you like that we have a soul, and then but this meme says no, you are a soul, you have a body. So it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
so
Exactly.
it's like so
Thank you,
yeah.
Kendall. Everyone give a.
Thank you.
I always think of that movie. What's that movie? Number 2, and I think it's called. It's a cartoon movie. It's something about soul. Soul.
Oh yeah,
What is it called? Soul?
Yeah, the soul like
And it
Pixar
teaches
thing?
you
Was that one of the
teaches
Disney
you-
movies?
Yeah, Pixar.
I never
Pixar,
Pixar.
but it
I
teaches
never
you
saw that.
about
Gotta
you
see
are
it.
a soul. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I have a question.
Okay. Yes.
Should I say-
Elena, what's your name?
It's Alina, yeah.
Yeah, Alina.
Okay, this might be like a kind of tough question, but
Bring it on.
so just like talking about, okay, so the soul is like some kind of larger entity that like manifests onto this plane as a physical body, right? That's kind of what you were saying. Like, why? Any idea why? Why the manifests onto this plane in the body? What the point of all this is?
Yeah, according to the Bhagavad-Gita, that the soul is manifesting here because the soul, it wants to enjoy a certain kind of thing, but it wants to do it outside of the spiritual level. Like, basically, they say that if you, like, you know, what is that in Dante's Inferno or something, you want to serve in heaven, or do you want to rule in hell? And so there's a kind of like the soul's nature, which kind of, it's talked about more in the later chapters, like 7th, 8th, 9th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. It talks about the soul's nature as like we're ultimately part and parcel of God. So we're all like little sparks of God, and God is like the complete whole. And so it's like, you know, this harmonium. It has so many little pieces of metal and screws and things in it. And if one were to miss, it would be out of place. Or like another example, so we've got our hands. It's a part of our body. But if the hand was separate from the body and tried to, we'll have soon food coming here, and tried to just eat the food by itself, what's going to happen to the hand? It can't really enjoy. But when it finally actually is connected properly to the body and puts food in the mouth and the food goes to the belly, then everything is perfectly adjusted and the hand is like in its natural constitutional position. So in a way, basically, this material existence is an allowance for our free will to try to experience separately from the divine, just with our own, whatever potency our own soul has. But our own soul is like a very minute, infinitesimal amount of potency of the divine. And so it is what it is. And generally it's like, in the material world, everyone's trying to be the divine themselves. They want to be the full, complete divine, even though they're not. And so it creates a lot of, like I said, identity creates a lot of conflicts. So everyone's trying to have that same identity, but they can't. But in the original spiritual existence, it's like if I have a pond of water and I chuck in a rock, it's going to make these ripples. Now, if I chuck in another rock in another place, there's going to be other ripples, and there'll be destructive interference, right? The ripples will like hit each other. But what if I'm able to chuck all the different rocks into the same exact point, it's just going to have the same exact waves go out. Or you can have like a circle that is centered around one point, and everything has a different perspective, although it's all centered on that one point. We want to try to be that one point, but if we're supposed to be part of that circle and we're trying to be that one point, it just will never work out. But we have free will, so the divine allows us to experience this, and that's indeed another kind of experience. But you could say that's the why, because we want to experience something, although it's paradoxically not really attainable, but at least we're trying. And some people, there's different, in the Vedas you get stories of individuals who have tried so intensely that they've attained kind of powers over the entire universe, and they're almost like God in themselves, but ultimately they're not able to create a stable, harmonious, eternal relationship with everyone, which is, we say we're learning Bhakti Yoga. This is like the temple of Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is like how can we exist in eternity with everyone else and with God is through learning the principles of love, learning the principles of Bhakti Yoga. And without that, we're in the material world, Bhukti Yoga, how to connect with everyone through I, me, and mine, and this is my thing and that's your thing, and if you want to take it, I'm going to fight you, and if I think you're going to take it, then I'm going to have to plot against you, and everyone's just struggling for benefits in so many different ways, in so many different levels. The dog and the cat are fighting each other, and the man versus man, dog eat dog world, like that. So that's kind of an intense answer, but you asked an intense question, so
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone have anything. Okay, Suvarna, and then Kendall can get his
How are
word
we
in there.
not the body? How are we not the body?
How are we not the body? Yeah, that's true. You look in the mirror every day, like I said, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And we're so attached. But we have to see what is the symptom of our consciousness, of our soul, which is our consciousness. And it's sometimes a hard thing to see because we can't see our consciousness, we can't see our soul. And so at first, Krishna is saying, well, at first we should just try to understand on an intellectual level, like, maybe I don't know if I'm not my body, but these different sages and yogis and Krishna are saying that I'm not my body, so let me try to act like that and do some activities that are on the spiritual level that aren't really related to my body, and let me see what happens. And in other ways, we can do some analysis. We can see that no matter how much matter, like matter is what our body's made of, matter is what this instrument's made of, no matter how much matter that I give you or anyone, can they make consciousness? Right, Suvarna? Like if I give you a bunch of matter and you're smart, maybe you can make an iPhone to ring during the class. But no matter how much material I give you, no matter how much computer boards and different things, are you going to be able to make someone that's conscious like you? Or here's a very good thing. If you, Suvarna, if you close your eyes and you say something, you say, if you say your name, but you don't say it with your mouth, try doing that. Can you hear that? And did you say something? So what was that? That was not your body. That was something more subtle than your body. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's your soul. We would say that's maybe your mind or your intelligence. But that's just a way to start thinking about something that are more subtle than the body. And yeah, the soul, ultimately, the symptom of the soul is consciousness. So if I, like I said, if I give you so many computer chips or different elements, there's no way you can make consciousness. But on the other hand, if I have any amount of trees or so many things, even our body produces so much material. Our consciousness in our body, via our body produces, you have to cut your fingernails, you have to cut your hair, like I shaved today, I missed a spot. And so much material is actually produced from consciousness, but material things never produce consciousness. So it actually is. That's why Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad-Gita. It's not an easy thing to understand because we're so identified with our body, but there's some ways that you can. And if you practice Bhakti Yoga, ultimately there's been many devotees that get off the bodily platform, they say. So this is it takes practice. Okay, I think Kendall wanted to say something, or you want to say something?
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. You have inspired me to ask something out of topic. It's about Krishna and one of his pastimes. In the Damodara Lila, he broke Mother Yashoda's pots of butter because he got mad while she was carrying him, and she went to stop the milk from overboiling. So he got mad and broke the pots. And as I hear people saying that if we shouldn't do a lot of stuff and be angry all the time. So what
Krishna.
Yeah, so the question is that Krishna got mad, and we're always told by the different religious people, saintly people, the sages and spiritual literature, that anger is very dangerous. Rupa Goswami is telling us also. And so the implication is, if anger is dangerous, then why is God angry? Well, there's a couple of answers to this. One answer is we're right now, if we're in a state where we're trying to get out of, and it requires some spiritual practice to get ourselves back on the spiritual platform, we have so many different rules and things that we need to follow to help get purified of these things. But then when we're on the spiritual platform, everything that we do is on the spiritual level. And so for Krishna, so he's God, and so even if things seem like whatever God is doing is going to be amazing, and especially speaking of what is God doing in Vraj, everything he's doing, you can see it from the point of view as it just increases the love that his devotees have for him. So he may be getting angry and being naughty, but in being naughty, it's not just like some naughty baby that we might see here that may just frustrate the parents and then they get more upset. But actually it was just at that state that his mother and his friends and his whole family, and actually the whole world, everyone that's hearing this pastime, they just get more caught up in wanting to increase their love for him. So it's a special kind of anger. It's not, his anger is actually just in a pastime, in this case. But even if God gets, it may not be a pastime. What if God gets upset with us? It's like, that's also good. Anger is not always bad. Everything can be used as a tool. But in God's case, if we're saying, "Oh God, I want to come to you," and then He's like, "Okay, we'll try this." Okay, here's a funny story. That this guy was said on the news, "Oh, there's going to be this raining for so many days and it's going to flood, so everyone has to evacuate." Then he didn't pay attention. He was just, "Oh no, I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna and I'm not going to evacuate. Krishna said he'll protect me. I'll be protected." And then there was the officer that came around. "Okay, everyone has to evacuate. It's going to flood here, so we got to get out of there." "No, I'm not. I'm going to be protected." He said, "Okay." And then it started raining and flooding. And then the guy goes to the second floor. He's like, anyways, Krishna will protect me. And then some guy comes on a boat. Hey, it's flooding. You got to get out of here. Come on the boat with me. And so, no, I'm going to be protected. And then he goes on the roof, and it starts flooding all the way to the roof. And a helicopter comes and sees him. Hey, come with us. This is your last chance. It's flooding everywhere. We got to get you out of here. He's like, I don't need it. And then finally, everything floods, and he ends up passing away. And he goes and he meets God, and he says, God, what the heck? What happened? I thought you said you'd protect me. And God got angry. He said, what do you mean? I sent I sent the news broadcast, I sent the officer, I sent the guy in the boat, I sent the helicopter. So similarly, if we're trying to do something spiritual, but then we ignore God's help, then sometimes he may get angry at us. But anger is not always necessarily bad, but it's one of the things that we have to control. Like if we get angry, we can't control that we get angry. Your sister or your brother may do something to you that makes you angry, but we can control how we respond to it. We can control how we guide that anger. We can convert the energy into something that's not gonna, if we're angry, we can make a quick destructive decision that may really alter our lives. And there's many people that are, in prison and things because of that. But if we learn how to control our anger and utilize it in the proper way and not let the anger control us, then we can stay healthy and in a good consciousness. Nityananda Chandra, you want to add on?
So, how do you know the sun is hot?
Because I can feel it when I go outside.
Perfect. So, the sunlight, which is part of the sun, it tells us something about the sun. But the sunlight is it as hot as the sun itself, like the sunlight
No.
here? No, it's not as perfect. It's not as intense. It's not as pure of the heat and light that you find in the sun. And so similarly, how do I know that the source is a person? Is that I'm a person, and then just like this hot sunlight comes out of a hot sun, persons come from a supreme person. But I have, like the sunlight far from the sun, it has imperfect qualities. It has shadows. It's not so bright. But if you follow the sunlight all the way back to the source, it's like pure heat, pure light. It's the perfection of that. So here we have stealing. But when we steal, we cause people pain. But when Krishna steals, he causes pleasure. If I came to your house and stole your yogurt, you wouldn't be happy with it. But if the most adorable being in existence comes and he's 3 years old and you're just enchanted by, look at the mischief of this child. He's so clever, and so it's enchanting. He's doing something naughty and it brings up your pleasure. You feel love and happiness, and he's actually doing this out of pleasure. And he does all kinds of mischief, and they're like, look at this kid, he's such a naughty kid. But it's enchanting. And so just like the light far away, it has the imperfect qualities, but the light all the way back to the source has the perfect qualities. It's pure heat, pure light. So similarly, we have personality. Like if I say, oh, I have a body, and you're saying God has a body, that means he needs deodorant. That means he needs a shower. He needs this or that. No, we have a material body. But if you follow it back to the source, then it's the perfection of body. It's the perfection of anger. It's the perfection of stealing. It's the perfection of... So everything you see here, this is like the corrupted software version. It's not the pure version. But the pure version is found in Krishna. And so when he steals... You'll be very happy that he came to your house and stole your yogurt and broke all the pots and made a huge mess. You will love it. You think this kid, I can't wait. I'm going to, get a little spicy with him just so he'll come back again the next day to do a little bit more mischief, So everything you see here is the reflection. But in the reflection, you have these same qualities, but they're not pure. And then you look at the source, and it's pure. So you have the things here, but they're not the same. Yeah. So thank
Oh, I was gonna say something to the little girl. I don't know. I forget your name. I'm sorry.
Suvarna.
Subardo. How do you say it? Shubarna. Okay. I just had a quick thing to say about an easy way for me to look at it, like you said about the body, was you said, or you asked, how are we not the body? An easy way for me to look at it was, and this doesn't mean to sound depressing, but people die, right? People pass away. We don't really miss their physical body. Like, it might look like it because they're in the body, but we miss like their love and their, like, it's almost like their essence, right? So like the body can go away, but like the essence of that person stays. And that's kind of just an easy way that I looked at it. It was like, oh, I don't miss like the flesh of them. I miss their being and everything about who they were, right? So that's how, I don't know, that just felt to me.
That's good.
Yeah.
How old are you, Suvarna? 7. So when you had your 7th birthday, did you cry or were you happy? Happy. But you lost your 6-year-old body. So in what we learn in science and biology, that the body you had when you were born, the cells that they were made of are no longer here. They've been replaced with new cells. So you don't have the body you were born with. All those cells have died, but you're still here. The skin, when we learn that skin cells live on the body for 2 weeks. The new cells come in and the old cells die off. Just like, the hair's coming out, similarly your skin cells come out like that. And so you have, within a period of how many years does it take for all the cells in the body to be replaced? 7 years. So you do not have the body you were born with, but your mom knows this is my Suvarna. Your mom knows, but you weren't this tall when she gave birth to you. So that body that you had is gone. It's not just like a balloon that you add air and it's grown in that sense. If you learn in science, you'll see old cells are replaced with new cells, and all the old stuff that your body was made of is gone and died. And you are still here because you are the passenger in this car called the body. And so, so that's why you're happy. You have your 7th birthday. It's not like, oh my God, I'm so sad. My 6-year-old body is gone. No, you're happy. So we change our body.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It's not about the topic, but I want to ask a question. What happened if Srila Prabhupada was not here?
Well, my guru made a whole song about it. What if Prabhupada didn't come?
Oh God.
I mean, I don't know what to say. We probably wouldn't have a temple here. I wouldn't know anything about Bhagavad-Gita. I wouldn't probably have a spiritual practice like this. Many things.
Billions of people would be vegetarian or even practicing meditation.
Yeah. George Harrison would have wrote "Here Comes the Sun" and so many other songs. Yeah, where would you be if Prabhupada wasn't here?
I don't know Krishna, and I don't know the ISKCON, and I don't know the Bhagavad-Gita.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
If you're born Hindu, I think you know about enemies.
Yeah, even for people that were born Hindus, Prabhupada brought a lot of clarity and commentary. Like, he wrote over 80 books, translated and commentated, and yeah, I guess he did. He incorporated ISKCON 60 years ago. We just had a big gala celebrating it. But yeah, I think if there's any last comment by Nityananda Chandra, otherwise maybe have a kirtan. It's getting late. It's almost 8.